This is the oldest I've ever been. No, wait. I guess this is the oldest I've ever been. Well, actually, this... I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is the oldest I've ever been. And this is later that same life. On each episode of my weekly podcast, a different topic, discussion, or story from our lives.
Season 17, Chapter 11.
This is the oldest I've ever been. It was just a line that popped into my head one day after it took a little longer to stand up than it usually does. I remember thinking, well, that was odd. Is this a new normal now? It'll take me longer to stand up each time? Well, I said to myself, I am old. As a matter of fact, this is the oldest I've ever been. I am of an age that if I died tomorrow, no one would say, oh, geez, so young. I'm the age of a person that I didn't even trust when I was under 30. I'm the oldest I've ever been. I'm trying to figure out what this feeling is. It's not a physical thing per se. I mean, yeah, occasionally it takes me a little longer to stand up, and I no longer run 10Ks or help people move. I mean, I've heard of people my age who do those things. None of them are me. I'm well aware of my recently acquired physical limitations, as I am also aware of all those things that my family doctor told me for the last 30 years. He would say, yeah, I noticed you have a touch of Oreo pierogies, and nothing to worry about now, although it might bother you a little bit when you get older. Your tests show you have a bit of a cantankerous HEPA filter. You shouldn't really notice anything until you get a little bit older. And, well, guess what? He was right, and the time is now. I'm reminded of one of my favorite old jokes. A guy goes to the doctor, says, hey, doc, my arm hurts when I do this. Doctor says, don't do that. That's kind of it as you age. There's fewer options. You're slow to stand up? Well, then keep sitting. Yeah, fewer options. I'll get into that more in a moment. Having said all that, the feeling of old, well, it's really not a physical thing. Is it a mental thing? Not really. I generally remember why I walked into a room, where my glasses are. I'm pretty good at the Wordle. I know who Taylor Swift is, and Selena Gomez. I'm not bragging or anything, I'm just saying. I'm about as current as I need to be. I have a smartphone, social media accounts, and I stream many of my favorite shows. I am the modern man. So, no, this whole thing is not mental. Even though once in a while the physical reminds the mental about age. Ouch. What was that? That's new. Last summer I had a serious fall. I talked about it on a podcast. It wasn't an old guy fall. It was an unseen hazard. I settled out of court with City Hall. But still, it was a fall. That made me feel old for a while. And there's other things, you know. A young woman gave up her seat for me on the bus. I took it. Well, my HEPA filter was acting up that day. I automatically get the seniors discount at the drugstore. They don't even ask me for ID. And lately, Matlock seems like it's a good show. Talking, of course, about the original show, Ben Matlock, Andy Griffith, not this reboot with Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates is the new Matlock? Well, she's 77. What are you trying to do, make me feel old?
No further questions.
Oh, and once a month, the Government of Canada deposits my OAS. That stands for Old Age Security. It's not a senior's bonus, a silver reward, or an elder's payment. It's called Old Age Security. Hard not to feel old when they call it Old Age Security. You're old, here's some money. It's not enough to actually buy anything, but, it makes us feel better about ourselves. And I guess the only way it could make me feel any older is if it still came by check, and I had to trundle down to the bank to deposit it. Yeah, deposit the whole thing except for $10. I need to buy some stamps at the post office. I guess old is partly physical, partly mental, but mostly it's just reality. People always say getting old, well, sure beats the alternative. Yeah, I get that. But in our lives, we had 3 stages. We were young, old, and then dead. Now that you are old, there's only one next stop. And that's the thing, too. People talk about getting old. Sorry, most of the people who complain, well, you're not getting old, you are old. And that feeling, that's just reality setting in. Doesn't mean you have to act it or be it. You just have to accept it. Hey, I remember in my teens and young 20s, when you do something stupid, some wiseacre would always say, hey, why don't you act your age instead of your shoe size? Hardy har har. Metric killed that. Well, you know, my Eurometric shoe size is 42, so it might be better if I actually did act my shoe size. Metric ruins everything. And by the way, I am so old that I still use words like wiseacre. Being old is just the reality of being on the planet a long time. Life is short, or is life longer than you think? Well, it's both. It's short when suddenly your son or daughter is getting married, and it's long when the father of the bride is giving the speech. The reality? Well, if you make it to a certain age, that's a long time, no matter what it feels like. Time spent and memories of that time spent. More memories, more time spent. Suddenly all those years are in your head, and you're like, wow, I'm old. I guess that's why dementia is so sad. Because at some point, your memories will outweigh your future. They're mostly all you have left. And they end up as mostly what you think about. And if suddenly you lose those to a disease, well, that would just be the worst. And if it's not sad enough having your life wiped out, it usually happens when you don't have a lot of time left to start a new one. Sorry, I didn't mean to become maudlin. I did watch Total Recall recently. The original one with Arnold. What an actor. Somehow missed the Oscar nomination that year.
I love you.
Right. That's why you tried to kill me.
No, I'd never do anything to hurt you. I want you to come back to me.
Bullshit.
But there is something to be said about their technology. Just implant a life and a memory into your brain. Then you can live with that. You want a new one? Buy a new one. What could go wrong?
Bullshit.
But that's my big revelation about feeling old. It's not physical, it's not mental, at least not acuity, but it's the feeling of having been around a long time with lots of memories to prove it. And there's always something to help that, especially with social media. So easily tripping you onto something that happened long ago. You know, social media, once you click on something, they just keep feeding you more of the same. You just spend an entire day on memories. And it's fun, you know, nostalgia, great place to visit. I just wouldn't want to live there. Then, of course, there's birthdays and anniversaries. Those are a not-so-subtle nudge that you've survived another trip around the sun. New Year's, yeah, well, I guess you make resolutions and plans for the future. Not that you actually keep them, but you do make them. Birthdays and anniversaries, well, they're just memories. And even if in your own life you low-key those milestones, there's always something. Heck, I'm guilty of this. I dive into these things. I sometimes do podcasts about them. This year the movie Jaws turned 50. What? 50? Wasn't it just a couple of summers ago when we lined up outside the Capitol Theater and saw the movie Jaws? Then we went to a pub afterwards, stayed till closing, went home, made out for a couple hours, and then went to work the next day? Yeah, I think it was. No, it wasn't. It was 50 years ago. A couple of weeks ago, I did a podcast about the Live Aid concert. This year is the 40th anniversary. 40. I watched a documentary. Wow. There's these kids, Geldof, Bono, Sting, Pete Townsend, and there they are now reminiscing about the days. They're old men. When did that happen? All those guys, the Stones and the Beatles, whatever's left of them, they're in their 80s, and they are not acting their age. They are acting their Eurometric shoe size. Incredible. That's old. That what you have in the future? Well, that's a much smaller piece of land than where you have that foot in the past. Future, that's a little pile of dirt over here, but the past, that's the vast expanse. And the other thing about the future is it's at the bottom of the hill that you are going down fast. I've mentioned this before, but I believe in fraction theory. of why, time seems to pass differently in your head. When you're 5 years old, 1 year is 1/5 of your life. That's a lot. But when you're 70, a year is 1/70th of your life. And it goes by just like that. I always wondered if that's why seniors, anecdotally, seem to play a lot of bingo, do the crosswords, and do knitting. It's not actually that they enjoy it. It's the opposite. Those things are so boring that it makes the days seem to last forever. And now the pace of life is faster. And with AI, it's going to be even faster. What will the Gen Zs think when they get old? Will they be thinking, ooh, life is short? I'm sure that me and those my age are just a 21st century version of the similar generations. After a certain number of decades, you can't help but look back at a lifetime of events and advancements. And you go, wow, yeah, where did the time go? And also, boy, things have really changed. Everything's different than it was in my day. Look at me, the modern man with my technology and my savvy, doing a podcast. Yet the first few years of my life were on my grandparents' farm where they didn't have electricity, running water, or a phone. Well, those things existed, just not on their farm. Till years later, my grandparents' cottage had a dirt floor. A dirt floor. Hey, wipe your feet before you come in. You don't want to be dragging in more floor. No, never mind. I have a memory of this. I have a foot there as my other foot steps into the future. I have a memory of living that way, juxtaposed to today. So it doesn't just feel like years ago, it feels like 100 years ago. My first new car out of the showroom cost $2,100. I was able to get a bank loan because I had just taken a new job that paid $25 more per month than the old job. I moved out of the house, the one my parents had just bought a couple of years earlier. A beautiful 3-bedroom with a big yard in a lovely suburb for $17,500. And this is not just about inflation, it's about our past that seems so long ago, making one feel old. People always say that, right? Hey, you want to feel old? Jaws just turned 50. Thanks, I didn't really want to feel old, but okay, good information. Yeah, and most of the people in it are dead. They were hunted down by that constantly moving predator, age. Things and people. And they don't have to be that old to make you feel old. I mentioned Selena Gomez. Oh yeah, the child star? Yeah, she's 33. Taylor Swift is 35. When I heard that Katy Perry might be dating Justin Trudeau, or at least they went out on a few dates, I looked it up. She's 40. Same age as Jimmy Fallon was when he got The Tonight Show in 2014. No, Jimmy Fallon got The Tonight Show just a couple of years ago. Oh no, 2014. And now he'll be 51 this fall. I remember, like it was yesterday, when I thought 51 was old. Now I'm long past 51, and Fallon, well, he's just a kid who just got The Tonight Show. His youthful look and exuberance aside, he's 51. I've got a foot here, I got a foot back there. So of course I remember Jay Leno's tenure, but what's worse is I grew up on Johnny Carson. That makes me ancient. There's adults in this world to whom I have to explain who Johnny Carson was. People say the pandemic got a lot of our timing out of whack, but maybe a little. The rest of it is just time marching on. In 2023, I did a podcast about turning 60. In 2023, more Canadians turned 60 than any other age. Want to wrap your head around that for a second? More Canadians turned 60 than any other age. And it's not just Canada that's aging. 1/4 of the world's population is over 50. Almost 40% is over 40. So it's mostly grown-ups running around this third rock, even though many of them don't act like it. Those who turned 60 in 2023, significant because that means the last of the boomers are now seniors, baby boomers, born 1946 to circa 1964. After that, it's Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z. So the last of the boomers are over 60. That category, well, that's 13% of the world's population that's over 60. That's boomers. We used to be in the majority. We used to rule the world. Now we don't. Now we're old. The subsequent generations even came up with a put-down to make us feel older. Okay, boomer. Remember that? A dismissive put-down of our outdated notions? Okay, boomer. The phrase itself is now old and outdated. Okay, millennial. No one says okay, boomer anymore. Jennifer Aniston is older today than Rue McClanahan was when she started on The Golden Girls. Courtney Cox is almost the same age as B. Arthur was when she first said, "Thank you for being a friend." And it's not that 60 is the new 50 or 50 is the new 40. 60 is 60, 50 is 50. We just came up with a way of talking ourselves out of aging. Age is just a number. Yeah, that's right. That's how we keep track, with numbers. Just for fun, hey, let's quickly run through pop culture. Well, Liam Neeson is 73, Adam Sandler is 58. They're looking for a new James Bond because the last one, Daniel Craig, is 57. Brad Pitt is 61. Conan O'Brien is 62, Jay Leno is 75, Billy Joel is 76. Letterman is 78. His young replacement, recently canceled, Stephen Colbert, is 61. Steve Martin is 79, Martin Short is 75. All those cool grunge guys from the 90s, yeah, they're all in their 60s. They just released Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, who are 66 and 39, respectively. Previous Freaky Friday was 22 years ago. YouTube's been around for 20 years, Facebook for 21, TikTok almost 10. Am I trying to make you feel old? Yeah, I guess I am. Why should I be the only one? Hey, and I get that there's a lot of young people out there too, young stars. Timothy Chalamet, Elle Fanning, Billie Eilish, Her. Very young, very accomplished. But they just make me feel old. As a matter of fact, this is the oldest I've ever been. Well, 40 can feel like 30. 50 can feel like 30. 60 can feel like 40. But 70? That starts to feel different. All other things being equal, you just start to lose a step. And standing up to take that step can take a little longer. You need one of those ejector loungers, you know, those chairs that rise up to help you stand up. One thing I don't have is the old man voice. I mean, I sound older than I used to, I know that, but the old man voice. You know, this one that makes you sound older. Hey, you kids. When I host talk shows on the radio and I get calls from those guys with the old voice, I always wonder, are they younger than me? My mother, who's mostly healthy right till the end, died a couple of years ago at age 94. I wonder when she first noticed the difference. Never thought to ask her that. I always remember that she always had a young voice. It's interesting when you can have a relationship with a parent based on the common experiences of getting old. I also know that many years ago she found out that she was born not in 1929, but in 1928. Can you imagine? Suddenly aging by a whole year. It's not even your birthday. She was over 65 when she learned of the more accurate birth records. I always thought that the government owed her an extra year of Canada pension and old age security, but we never pursued it. And here's a piece of advice you didn't ask for. The worst thing you can do when you're old is try and look young. Oh, go ahead and act young, whatever you think that is. But isn't it funny? The younger an old person tries to look, the older they seem. But it's that time where even if you live to be 100, the time behind you is greater than any time you have left ahead. And you have to deal with that. They say the first person that will live to be 150 has already been born. Okay, if that's you, good luck. The rest of us, we have to deal with aging at this point. My younger brother and I were lamenting recently about aging. And we were saying how weird it is that just when you finally start to figure a few things out, it's over. And not only that, but no one seems to be really that interested in what you've learned. My great wealth of knowledge and my beer can collection. Two things that no one else wants. I was reminded of Douglas Adams, who's author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He offers this theory that if ever anyone discovers exactly what the universe is for and why it is here, it will then instantly disappear and be replaced by something even more bizarre and inexplicable. And the other theory with that is that that's already happened. Maybe that's kind of how life works.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.